Hey kids, guess what time it is? You guessed it, it's commentary time! Yee-ha! We'll be taking a look at Idle Fry, our 1313 Sonic Rider Zero Gravity review. So, let's get down to business. Yes, I know, it was a pointless skit, but whatever. Let's just get this commentary started. Skipping the intro for your pleasure, and I don't like the Saw in His World that much anyways.
I played the original Sonic the Hedgehog when I was 2 years old.
So did a lot of people in the early 90s, myself included.
After that, I was a huge Sonic freak. I watched the TV show, read the comics, and got all of the sequels. However, after that, there was a time of darkness. A new Sonic game wouldn't be released for a long time. Forget all the spin-offs, Sonic 3D Blast, Spinball, every single Sonic game on the Sega Game Gear. All of us 7-year-old Sonic fans wanted a brand new Sonic Adventure. And that's exactly what we got. Sonic Adventure! See what I did there?
No shit, Sherlock! Of course the game was called Sonic Adventure.
It had beautiful graphics, kick-ass music, and our favorite blue hedgehog. But even Sonic Adventure had its flaws. Bad camera, voice acting, and cutscenes plagued what could have been a classic game. But let's just get this straight, guys. You all know it's true deep down inside. Sonic Adventure was a terrible game.
So you're saying that everyone knows deep down that it's a terrible game. Please tell me you're just trolling. If it was a terrible game, then why was it critically acclaimed by many? And why was it the best-selling Dreamcast game? That makes perfect sense, considering you dissed the game right after you said it had beautiful graphics and kick-ass music.
There were glitches up the ass and way too many characters. The only character who had any
True, there are glitches in the game, but they are not game-breaking, so it's still playable. As for, quote, too many characters, unquote, dude, there are only 6 playable characters. It's not like Super Smash Bros. Brawl, where there are like 35 characters to choose from. And besides, having more than one playable character adds to the replay value, and that's a good thing when it comes to games.
Sonic Adventure 2 was an improvement, gameplay-wise, streamlining the characters and all that, but it automatically loses points with me for the addition of Shadow.
And the inclusion of Shadow makes the game bad because... I'll give you 3 seconds to say why.
Lately, Sega is intent on running this once-beloved franchise into the ground with gun-toting black hedgehogs, a game that won't let you play as Sonic even when you're playing as Sonic.
What do you mean by a game that won't let you play as Sonic even when you're playing as Sonic? The game is called Shadow the Hedgehog. Of course you can only play as him. You can't play as Sonic during the course of the story mode. And what's with the Sonic Heroes title string you put there?
And a love relationship between a blue hedgehog and a human.
Bleh, bleh, bleh. I already know a montage of Sonic and Elise clips. Skipping this.
Now, hoverboards. Enter Sonic Rider Zero Gravity exclusively on the Nintendo Wii. Meaning that it's a PS2 port.
Technically you're right, but I think they made the PS2 version for those who don't have a Wii. Plus the PS2 sold loads of units.
Hey, where's that meathead store?
Oh, he's off making better reviews.
Hey, you're right. Better reviews than this one I'm commentating on.
Anyway, let me get started.
Took you long enough. Hey, hold up a minute. Girls hate guys who rush the jet. Rush?
The story goes that a meteorite falls to Sonic's home planet, which, for some reason, makes a bunch of robots go apeshit and try to destroy the world. Tails finds this meteorite and gives it to Sonic, making the robots target our heroes. Eventually, Sonic and friends run into Jet, Wave, and Storm. Oh, not that one.
Oh wow, real mature of you.
This one. And yeah, he's a huge idiot. Not that one. This one. They get together to find out what's been happening to the world and try to stop it. By racing! Doesn't make much sense, really.
Just like in Diddy Kong Racing, where Diddy and his friends have to stop WizPig by racing. Hey, it's just a game, it doesn't need to make sense.
The game takes its B-movie plot way too seriously. I mean, listen to this.
The divine wings, straggler of stars, lose their plumes to the dark and
Blah.
fall to the ground. The plumes become as stars,
Shut up.
returning to this land.
No one cares.
We, the children of Babylon,
Babylon?
This game sucks.
I honestly don't see how the game took its plot too seriously. All I saw was Knuckles reading an ancient message about the meteorites, and you gotta love how he's saying, blah, and shut up, no one cares, as he's watching the cutscene.
This flaw becomes much worse when you throw in Jason Griffith and his gang of no-talent hacks into the mix.
So you're saying that Jason Griffith's voice acting automatically makes it worse. In that case, then all cutscenes from every Sonic game with 4Kids voice actors must be automatically bad. Again, please tell me you're just trolling. Oh, and if you want my opinion on Jason Griffith, I think he did a pretty good job as Sonic. Same with Ryan Drummond. I also really liked Roger Craig Smith's Sonic role. He does sound older, but he still has his core personality. Plus, Sonic's already 20 years old, so I think Roger's the perfect voice for him at this time. Bring it on, Roger haters. I'm not scared of you guys.
Cut the act! I'm talking about the global robot rampage! Aren't just some rocks! Babylon Clan legend has... Even without wings, I can still fly!
Man, you really suck.
My question is, why would Sega keep these terrible actors when the old ones were perfectly fine? Well, most of them.
That's Eggman. I wonder what happened to Sonic.
I can offer some reasons for that. Ryan Drummond wanted to be the voice of Sonic in the anime Sonic X, which was gonna be dubbed by 4Kids in New York at that time, but Ryan lived in San Diego, California, so he had to be replaced by Jason Griffith. Then later on, Sega wanted consistency across Sonic media, so Jason replaced Ryan in the games too, starting with Shadow the Hedgehog and Sonic Rush in 2005. So, there you go. That's why.
My other question is, why would Sega make a new Sonic Riders when the original was so poorly received?
Beats me.
Something's not right.
So Sega can improve on the flaws the original Sonic Riders game had. Plus, the original was a moderate success as far as I know, despite the critics panning the game for its crap controls and all that jazz. I, however, had no problems with the controls. You just have to get used to them to fully enjoy the Sonic Riders games. And in my opinion, Zero Gravity was a better game.
While presentation isn't the most important aspect of a game, it still matters. Sonic Riders Zero Gravity's cutscenes and story is pretty much a joke and not even worth mentioning, so I won't mention it.
You already mentioned the story and cutscenes a few minutes ago. Don't lie to the audience.
Brace yourself!
So, how does it play? Well, let's see. It's a Sonic game that was made after 2001, so it's not looking good already. The overcomplicated controls is what ultimately fail.
The controls aren't overcomplicated. You just have to get used to them while you play, and you will do fine.
I'll try to paraphrase it simply enough for you to follow.
Let's hear it!
At the beginning of the race, you have to time it so that you won't smack into the electric fence at the starting gate. You want to start running at the right time to get a good lead from the start. Mess up, and we're having fried hedgehog tonight. See what I did there? Once in a race, you'll notice a meter on the bottom left corner of the screen. That's your GP meter, or gravity points. This basically controls all the actions you can do using the gravity meteor thingy, like drifting, which looks pretty cool, I must say. You can also do this technique to reach new areas on the track too. Jump off a half pipe, redirect gravity towards a wall, and bingo, you're riding on the wall. And if you're really good, you can do the same off the draft your opponents create. Sweet. GP can also be used to perform a gravity dive, which is basically the game's form of Nitro in Need for Speed or some other such garbage. To fill the GP meter up, you can do a number of different things. First off, it helps to get a perfect start out of the gate. You can also perform tricks, which has been seriously dumbed down from the original Sonic Riders. Instead of using button combinations to perform tricks, like the original, All you have to do is press the 2 button before going off a ramp, and your character does tricks automatically. Don't get me wrong, there's still some minor strategy involved. Depending on what location of the ramp you press 2 on, you will either do crappy tricks, or you can go knuckbutts crazy and do some crazy spinny shit that makes me nauseous. Depending on what kind of trick you perform, you will get a certain amount of GP. You'll also gain GP for performing special moves that are unique to each character's class. There are 3 different classes in the game: Speed, Flight, and Power. Depending on what class you choose, you'll have a certain type of board which can perform a special gear change. What's a gear change?
Gear change! Gear change!
You can perform a gear change by pressing the A button on the Wiimote. You'll also have to collect rings before you can form them, however. Each class Speed characters can ride rails, Power characters can break through walls to reveal shortcuts, and Flight characters can go off special ramps and fly through a chain of rings a la Superman 64. So, after explaining the gameplay to you, one might ask, "Hey, Ayu Fryer, that seems like an alright set of rules to a racing game. What's so bad about it?" Well, I'll tell you what. They're terrible.
You don't need to repeat yourself. You already mentioned that the controls are overcomplicated, but at least you'll explain why.
Huh?
The Wiimote just doesn't respond.
Okay, I'm just asking. What's with the Donald Duck picture? Whatever, moving on.
And when performing certain actions. For example, to perform a gravity dive, you shake the Wiimote, but half the time it doesn't even respond. When you do manage to get into a gravity dive, to stop, you have to shake the Wiimote again. But there's a good 2-second delay. Because of that, might stay in gravity dive for too long and waste precious GP. Not to mention the terrible pointer functionality. It just doesn't work.
What pointer functionality? Are you talking about pointing the Wii remote while racing or navigating through the menus? I'm confused.
Here's another example. Take a look at this. I was turning the Wiimote so sharply here, it was practically upside down.
It's probably because you were using the gravity dive too late at that point. That might have caused you to bump into that wall.
And yet, poor old Sonic doesn't respond to this at all. With the GameCube controller, it actually is a bit easier because you're pressing buttons instead of doing unintuitive motions. But that doesn't hide the fact that the boards handle like shit and don't turn sharply enough.
I'm not going to repeat myself again about the controls, but I have played the game with the Wii remote on its side, and it feels fine for me.
A first-time player will spend more time bumping into walls than actually playing the game. The story mode is also incredibly short and incredibly stupid, like I mentioned before. The sad thing is that Storm, not this guy, that whatever. The sad thing is that Storm is the one that ends up finding the last remaining meteorites, which helps Sonic and friends save the day. Look, I'm going to be perfectly honest. The game isn't that terrible. It's actually a pretty high caliber among Wii shovelware. The thing is that it's so painfully mediocre, almost no effort was put forth into its creation, you end up with a game that's better off not existing. This game just isn't worth playing at all. Just stay away from it. A game with such terrible controls, graphics, story, voice acting just shouldn't exist.
Okay, I'm sorry if the Price is Right fail horn is overdone, but he forced me to use it. First, he said that the game isn't that terrible, but then he goes on to say that the game is better off not existing. Congratulations! You just turned into a hypocrite just by saying that. Make up your mind about what to say next in your review so you don't contradict yourself again. Moving on.
If you're itching for a racing game, there's plenty of other titles to pick up. Wipeout, F-Zero, Mario Kart. Are just to name a few. And now for a score. This is pretty hard, honestly. Do games really need a score, or should an in-depth review tell everyone everything they need to know about a game, and they can make their own decision from it? Well, I'm not sure about this, so I'm just gonna end it here.
Turning tail and running away?
No, I just decided to give my opinion of the game for entertainment rather than instructing people to make a decision.
You think I was just sitting around here twiddling my thumbs?
Oh, so that's what you guys watch a review for?
I follow you. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Alright, I guess. Sonic Riders Zero Gravity receives dying mascot on life support out of creators that don't know what to do with said mascot.
What? That's not even an actual score! Besides, you were deciding on whether to announce the score or not. You could have just given the score to the game, or just leave it at that for others to decide on their own. Granted, I understand it's for humor purposes, but this honestly wasn't funny for me. But anyways, it's gonna be finally done.
This has been IDoFryer1313, and the Assailant 6661 for Hear Me.
So overall, guys, that review was pretty lousy, even for a first review of his. As you can tell from his review, he's an old school Sonic fanboy, meaning that he worships classic Sonic, yet hates the newer games, including the Sonic Adventure series in his case. He complains about everything in the game, from the story, to the cutscenes, to the voice actors, and to the controls. And about the storm picture of some guy with a Super Princess Peach case? That was pretty disturbing. And don't even get me started about his comment about the first Sonic Adventure. So anyways, guys, you all take care, and I apologize for the skit at the beginning of the video. I just couldn't resist. This is Super Mario Kenny saying bye-bye!